Well, well, well. Look who mastered the art of disappearance. You, the beautiful and calculating architect of absence. You didn't just walk away. You evaporated, leaving nothing but a crater behind where your presence used to be. Now they're standing there, confused, trying to make sense of how someone so emotional could execute the coldest exit in human history. They're still checking their phones, aren't they? Still waiting for that explanation that will never come. Rehearsing arguments for a conversation that died the moment you decided you were done. What they don't realize is that your silence isn't punishment. It's freedom. Your absence isn't revenge. It's evolution. The moment they realized you were gone, chaos erupted in their minds. First came confusion. Maybe you were just busy. Then anger. How dare you ignore me? Then panic. Wait, are they really done? And now, they're left with the one thought that will haunt them forever. The realization that you planned this every single second. They thought they knew you. They thought you were predictable, soft, too loyal to ever walk away. They categorized you under too kind to leave, confident that your loyalty was gravity, always pulling you back no matter what. But while they were taking you for granted, you were observing. While they played their games, you studied the board. It didn't happen in one explosive moment. There was no dramatic fight, no final speech, no tears. It started quietly in your soul, when you realized that explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand you was a waste of your divine energy. That's when the exit began, not with a plan, but with a decision. The decision to stop being available for disrespect. It started small. Delayed responses, shorter replies, then silence. You stopped sharing your victories because they couldn't celebrate you. You stopped sharing your struggles because they weaponized your vulnerability. Brick by brick, you built a wall so subtle they didn't even notice until it was complete. And the precision of your withdrawal, absolute perfection. You didn't ghost them out of anger. You faded out of intention. You became less available without warning, less invested without announcement. You redirected your energy inward while they were still expecting you to feed their emptiness. They were so used to treating you like their emotional gas station, they didn't notice when you shut down for renovation. You mirrored their energy with poetic justice, giving them the same nothing they'd been serving you for years. But when you did it, suddenly you were cold, different, or heartless. Damn right you were different. You learned their game and refused to play it. When you finally left, it was a masterpiece. No goodbye text, no explanation, no closure, just absence. Clean, silent, complete. That's what's tormenting them, the precision, the finality. No loose ends, no breadcrumbs, no mutual contacts leaking updates. You became a ghost, and now they're haunted. They're still running through old conversations, dissecting texts, trying to pinpoint the exact moment you decided to leave. But they'll never find it, because it wasn't one moment. It was thousands. Every dismissed feeling, every crossed boundary, every time they chose ego over empathy. They expected drama, chaos, tears, an exit loud enough to feed their victim complex. But what they got instead was silence so sharp it echoed louder than any words could. They came prepared with their usual tactics, manipulation lined up, guilt trips locked and loaded, fake apologies rehearsed to perfection. But you left like a professional. Clean, efficient, permanent. No chaos, no closure speech, no emotional aftermath, just silence. And that silence said everything words never could. It declared your worth louder than any argument ever would. It said, I choose peace. It said, you had your chance. And most importantly, it said, I no longer owe explanations to people who spent years explaining me away. Right now, they're feeling something completely foreign. The crushing weight of your absence. They used to think you were replaceable, that they could find another you easily. Someone else willing to take the bare minimum and still call it love. But now they're realizing the truth. What you brought to the table doesn't exist anywhere else. Every song, every place, every routine feels haunted by you. Even their victories taste hollow, because they got used to celebrating them with your energy present. They're winning, but it feels like losing, because you're not there to witness it. That's when the truth hits. You weren't just part of their life. You were the pulse that made it meaningful. Now, they lurk in the shadows. Fake profiles, anonymous accounts, silent stalking sessions, looking for signs that you're hurting without them. They want to see cracks, sadness, weakness, but all they find is silence, or worse, nothing at all. You've vanished from every digital trace they can reach. You've ascended into a higher plane of existence, one they no longer have access to. The group chats feel emptier now. The energy has shifted. People whisper your name, but no one has real answers. Where did they go? What happened? And while they shrug and pretend not to care, their insides are screaming. They're dying inside because deep down, they know you didn't just walk away. You fired them from your life without severance, without warning, without appeal. And here's what's burning them most. They're realizing you saw through them all along. Every manipulation, every half-truth, every guilt trip, you clocked it. You didn't react. You observed. You watched their performances unfold, studying every move like a master strategist. You let them show you exactly who they were while you quietly planned your escape. Now they're replaying old conversations with new clarity, remembering all the subtle warnings you gave, the boundaries they ignored, the chances they wasted, the exits you hinted at before finally walking through one yourself. They thought your patience was weakness, but it was intelligence, it was reconnaissance. You didn't leave because of one incident or one argument. You left because of the pattern, the cycle they thought you were too blind to recognize. You saw the disrespect, the manipulation, the small betrayals stacked on top of each other since day one. You just didn't announce that you noticed. And the coldest part? You're not even angry. That's what's unraveling them now. They were ready for confrontation, for chaos, for your rage. But instead you gave them indifference, a silence so calm it's unbearable. They were armed and ready for battle, arguments polished, strategies rehearsed, but you didn't meet them on that field. You gave them peace instead. They were prepared to fight you, yet now they're left fighting your absence. And how do you win a war against something that's no longer there? Slowly, they're piecing the timeline together, and it's terrifying them. They're realizing you started leaving long before your physical exit. Every happy memory is now tainted by the knowledge that, even then, you were halfway gone. While they were cozy in their comfort, you were quietly building your escape. What keeps them awake at 3 a.m. isn't nostalgia, it's realization. You're not coming back. Not because you can't, but because you won't. They've tried their little tricks, the just checking in texts, the I miss us crumbs, the manipulative nostalgia. But you're not biting. You've lost the appetite for that kind of emptiness. You found something that feeds you better, self-respect. Now they're dissecting the past, trying to locate the glitch, but they can't find one because there isn't one. You didn't malfunction. You evolved. You didn't fall apart. You aligned. You didn't lose your mind. You reclaimed it. And that's the part they can't process. How someone they once controlled became completely uncontrollable. The truth they choke on is brutal. Your exit was cold because your spirit had already frozen long before. They didn't notice because they were too busy basking in your warmth while offering nothing but frostbite in return. You didn't become cold overnight. You simply stopped being their personal heater. And now, for the first time, they're feeling the chill they created. That's when the full impact of your exit hits them. It wasn't just that you left. It's how you left. You erased every trace of the version of yourself they once possessed. The one who laughed at their jokes. Gone. The one who validated their excuses. Erased the one who caught them when they fell. Dissolved. You didn't just remove your presence. You withdrew your energy, your warmth, your magic. Now their world feels muted. Every conversation sounds dull. Every day looks gray. Life has lost its color because you took the spectrum with you. And the cruelest part? They can't even villainize you. You didn't create a scene. You didn't fight. You didn't humiliate them. You just left. How can they play the victim when there was no visible crime? How can they spin a story without exposing their own neglect? You've left them without a narrative, without a scapegoat, without control. They have everything. Possessions, routines, social circles, but not the one thing they crave: closure. Now they're trapped in the same emotional purgatory they once kept you in. Talking to your ghost, arguing with your memory, winning debates you'll never hear. But that's the irony of arguing with absence. It always wins. Because while they're still fighting shadows, you're somewhere far beyond their reach, building something luminous. Your peace, your empire, your sunlight. You know what's really tormenting them? It's not the silence. It's what that silence represents. The haunting awareness that somewhere out there, you're thriving. You're not flaunting it. You're not posting highlight reels or throwing subliminal shots. You don't need validation. But they can feel it. The undeniable vibration of someone who's free, grounded, and untouchable. It eats at them because they always assumed you'd crumble without their presence. Instead, you leveled up. The success of someone who dropped dead weight, it radiates differently. You're lighter, faster, more decisive, more dangerous. Meanwhile, they're dragging the ghost of everything they lost, suffocating under the gravity of their own mistakes. Now they're rewriting history to protect their pride. They tell themselves you were unstable, too emotional, too intense. They spin stories to make your departure make sense in a way that keeps their ego intact. You'll come back. You always do. But deep down, they know the truth. The moment you walked away, something in them broke. They pushed a loyal soul too far, and you finally chose yourself. And that's the truth they can't bear to face. They had the chance to evolve with you, but they chose control instead. Now they're left holding an illusion that dissolved in their hands. Your silence has become its own form of judgment. Every day you don't reach out, they're forced to confront the echo of their actions. Every message they type and delete is another reminder that the connection they exploited no longer exists. You've turned absence into consequence, and it's poetic, because they're trapped in the same limbo they once kept you in. You gave them what they gave you: uncertainty, waiting, overthinking, and emptiness. Except this time, they can't escape it. They're serving a life sentence in the prison of your silence. But let's talk about you, the evolution that followed your exit. While they're drowning in nostalgia and regret, you're breathing again for the first time in years. The tension that used to live in your chest? Gone. That constant scanning of their moods, walking on eggshells to avoid chaos. A distant memory. You're barefoot on clouds now, untethered, unbothered, and absolutely free. You discovered something they prayed you'd never realize. You were always complete without them. You didn't need their validation. You didn't need their permission. You only needed to remember your own power. And when they refused to give you peace, you built it yourself. Your phone is quieter now, but your inner world is loud, in the best way. You're finally having honest conversations with yourself. You're making decisions from clarity, not fear. You're not filtering your desires through their opinions or expectations. You've reconnected with your intuition, your rhythm, your essence. You've become someone they wouldn't recognize. Calm, confident, self-sustained. That's the part that breaks them the most. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You didn't just walk away, you ascended. And here's the twist. Your exit wasn't cold. It was clean. They call it cruelty because they don't understand what clarity feels like. You didn't leave to hurt them. You left because staying was killing you slowly. You didn't need revenge. You needed renewal. The pain they feel now isn't something you inflicted. It's the natural consequence of losing access to your energy. They fed off your compassion, your empathy, your light. Now that you've unplugged from their system, they're starving. And you're feasting on peace, solitude, purpose, and power. Eventually, they'll try to replace you. They'll find someone new to manipulate, someone who doesn't yet see the pattern. But it won't be the same. Every time they laugh, every time they connect, every time they pretend to move on, your ghost will be there, quietly reminding them what authenticity felt like. They'll compare everyone to you, and no one will measure up. You've become their personal mythology, the one that got away, the one that couldn't be controlled, the one that mirrored everything they refused to face in themselves. But you've moved beyond that timeline. You're not replaying old memories or asking, what if? You know better now. You understand that sometimes the greatest act of love isn't staying, it's leaving with finality. Sometimes the most divine message you can deliver to someone is silence. Because silence is truth. Silence is power. Silence is proof that you no longer negotiate your worth. Your exit had to be that cold, that decisive, that absolute. Anything warmer would have given them hope. Anything softer would have given them an opening. You had to burn the bridge so completely that even the ashes couldn't be used for divination. You left nothing to rebuild, no way back, no lingering thread. Because closure wasn't something they earned. It was something you granted yourself. And as they sit in the ruins of what they destroyed, you're walking into a reality they'll never access. One built on peace, strength, and the kind of freedom that can only be forged in fire. And now you stand somewhere they will never reach. A realm beyond comprehension, beyond imitation, beyond access. You've become an enigma in their story, a name that can't be spoken without stirring unease in their spirit. You're not their ex, you're their education. You're not their loss, you're their lesson. You're not just a memory, you're the mirror that reflects every failure they tried to hide. You're not part of their past. You are the reason they will never again be able to trust their own judgment fully. Because deep down they know they mishandled something divine. They mistook grace for weakness, patience for permission, and kindness for blindness. And now they live in a world that feels smaller without you in it. Years from now they'll still talk about you, but never directly. You'll be that person who just vanished one day. The one who stopped showing up, stopped explaining, stopped waiting. You'll be the quiet ghost in their favorite stories, the reason they flinch when someone mirrors your tone, your humor, your calm. They'll bring you up when they're drunk and disarmed, slurring confessions to strangers who won't understand. They'll laugh about it like it's funny, but the ache will always sit beneath the surface. You'll be the phantom text they type and delete. The voice in their head that says, you had something real, and you destroyed it. Every time someone takes too long to reply, they'll feel that familiar anxiety clawing at them, the consequence of making someone who once loved them feel like a burden. You left a mark that doesn't fade, a scar that doesn't heal, a memory that doesn't soften with time. But it wasn't vengeance, it was balance. You didn't walk away to wound them. You walked away because you refused to let them keep wounding you. You withdrew your presence not as punishment, but as self-preservation. Your absence became their echo chamber, your silence became their sentence. Every time they open their mouth to tell a new story, they trip over the truth that you're no longer in it. Your silence, refined and relentless, says everything their words never could. They'll look for you in others, searching for that familiar safety, that unique warmth that only existed when you were near. But they won't find it. They'll try to reconstruct what they had, thinking it was about moments, places, routines. They'll miss the reality. It wasn't about what you did. It was about who you were. and who you were was irreplaceable. You were the sanctuary they defiled. You were the rare alignment between compassion and strength. You were the person who stayed long after you should have left. And when you finally did, they lost more than love. They lost access to peace. The coldest part of your departure isn't that you left. It's how completely you did it. You didn't just walk away. You evaporated from their reality so cleanly that even their anger has nowhere to land. They can't hate you properly because hate requires interaction. You gave them none. They can't vilify someone who never retaliated. They can't demonize someone who simply chose freedom. They're left with nothing but the bitter taste of accountability, realizing they had gold in their hands and treated it like rusted scrap. They'll replay every moment, looking for the sign that warned them this was coming, and they'll find hundreds. But it's too late. So here's to you, the magnificent architect of absence, the master of the invisible revolution, the conductor of silence so powerful it became symphonic. You didn't just leave, you transcended. You didn't walk out, you ascended. You didn't end something. You evolved beyond its frequency. Your departure was a masterpiece of quiet rebellion, an exit so graceful it defied their logic. You broke every rule they thought bound you to them. You didn't beg. You didn't explain. You didn't justify. You just went still. And in that stillness, everything they believed about control, loyalty, and attachment collapsed. Your exit was surgical, precise, emotionless, unstoppable. It was smooth because you refused to get entangled in their chaos. It was cold because warmth would have been wasted on those who left you shivering. It was final because you understood something they never did. Some doors don't need to be closed. They need to be sealed. You didn't slam it, you dissolved it, and when they went looking for it again, there was only air. Now let them wonder. Let them analyze. Let them sit in boardroom meetings with their own conscience, trying to make sense of what went wrong. Let them dissect the silence, looking for clues in the absence you left behind. They'll tell themselves you changed overnight, but the truth is you were transforming for months, right in front of them. And they were too self-absorbed to notice. Nothing hit them, you simply stopped holding them up. You stopped explaining pain they caused and pretending peace could still be built on chaos. And when someone who's been carrying you finally lets go, the fall feels violent. But it isn't an attack, it's gravity reclaiming what should have never been suspended. You're not responsible for the disorientation that follows. You're not required to draw them a map to the person they refuse to understand. You don't owe them an explanation for your evolution. You don't owe them access to your new coordinates. You don't owe them closure because closure is earned through awareness, and they chose ignorance. Your exit wasn't an ending, it was ignition, the closing of one chapter and the birth of your real story. You didn't just leave their world, you built your own. And while they're still searching for answers in your silence, you're busy becoming everything they never believed you could be. You're no longer defined by the way they saw you. You're defined by the way you rebuilt yourself after they broke your perception. You've become their unsolvable mystery, their unhealed wound, their quiet regret, but you're not haunted, you're liberated. You've graduated from their frequency, from their lessons, from their limitations. And while they remain frozen in time, replaying what was, you've already stepped into what's next, into a life they can't imagine, and a peace they'll never know. Right now, in this exact moment, they're doing the very thing they swore they'd never do, missing you. And not the easy kind of missing, not the, I wonder what they're up to, curiosity. Not the surface-level nostalgia they once mocked in others. No. This is the kind of missing that rearranges a person from the inside out. The kind that changes the rhythm of their breathing and rewrites their biology. They're missing you on a cellular level. Like their body remembers what their mind tries to forget. It's the ache that wakes them in the middle of the night. The hollow space that no distraction can fill. They're missing the way you saw them. Truly saw them. When no one else did. The way your laughter made the air lighter. The way you remembered small, insignificant details that made them feel significant. They're realizing that no one else has ever known them the way you did. Gently, accurately, without judgment. Now their world is littered with reminders of you. You've become the ghost haunting their ordinary. Your favorite mug still sits on the shelf, untouched but too sacred to throw away. The book you recommended is still half read on their nightstand, its spine bent at the chapter you told them would change everything. The playlist you made still lives in their Spotify, a graveyard of songs that once made them feel understood. They scroll past your name on social media, pretending not to notice, pretending not to care, but their eyes always linger. They think about deleting everything, but they can't, because deleting it would mean admitting you're really gone, and keeping it means bleeding a little every day. So they live in that limbo, half grieving, half denying, fully tormented. The real sting, though, isn't just the loss of you. It's the realization of what you were. You weren't a chapter in their story. You were the translator of it. You helped them make sense of their own chaos. You were the mirror that reflected back clarity when they couldn't see themselves. You helped them find meaning in emotions they couldn't name. Without you, everything feels like static. Their thoughts sound foreign. Their emotions feel too big, too wild, too unmanageable. You were their emotional GPS, and now they're driving blind through their own storm. You helped them navigate every twist and turn, but they never learned to read the map themselves. Now they're lost in their own life, missing exits, circling dead ends, haunted by the echo of your voice guiding them to peace. They can't reach any more. They wake at 3:33 a.m., the hour of reckoning, with your name still hanging in the air. Their bed feels colder, their room smaller. They grab their phone out of habit. Their fingers hover over your name, ready to type. Then it hits them. You're gone. The conversation is over. The line is disconnected. There's no safe space to unload their thoughts anymore. They try to laugh about something and instinctively think, I have to tell them this. Before the silence swallows the thought, victories feel dull now. Celebrations are hollow. Achievements come and go, but the joy is thin because it's missing the one person who made everything feel real, you. You've become their phantom limb, still felt, though gone. Every thought of you comes with a sting of absence, every day without you an echo of what once was. They can't escape it. The cracks are beginning to show in their life, not obvious ones, not yet, but small fractures are spreading under the surface, silent and devastating. The friend group doesn't flow like it used to. You were the bridge between personalities, the glue that held the unspoken piece together. Conversations falter because you were the one who asked the right questions, who listened with genuine interest, who saw people instead of just hearing them. Plans fall apart because you were the one who followed through. Gatherings feel awkward because you were the one who gave them meaning. They're beginning to see just how much invisible labor you did. The emotional maintenance, the remembering, the gentle care. You remembered birthdays when they forgot. You soothed conflicts they caused. You made excuses for their rudeness, defended them when others criticized, and poured energy into moments they drained dry. You were the balance, the empathy, the reason the energy stayed alive. They thought they were the sun and you were just orbiting, but the truth is you were the gravity holding everything together. Without you, the universe of their life is collapsing into chaos. And now, the aftermath is brutal. The show that used to revolve around them has been canceled. The ratings have dropped to the audience. The mutual friends, the co-workers, the acquaintances has noticed the shift. They're performing for empty seats now, trying to convince everyone they're fine, but even their smiles look like rehearsed lines. The people around them have started to see through the act. Where's your friend? Becomes, what happened between you two? Becomes, what did you do? Until finally someone brave enough says what everyone's thinking. I always wondered how they put up with you for so long. And that's when the illusion collapses, because now the truth is out in the open. You were never just a person in their life. You were the order in their chaos, the heartbeat in their noise. You were the quiet strength that made things function. You were the invisible thread that stitched everything together. And when you left, you didn't just take your love, you took the entire ecosystem that relied on it. Now they're trying to rebuild, but the foundation is gone. Every new connection feels forced. Every conversation lacks substance. The world feels colder, smaller, emptier. The things they used to enjoy have lost their color because you took the vibrance with you, and they can't tell anyone that. They can't admit that the person they undervalued was the one keeping them human. So they carry the guilt quietly, trying to pretend it's nostalgia when it's actually remorse. And somewhere, deep down, beneath all the rationalizations and coping mechanisms, they know the truth. They had something sacred and treated it like ordinary. They had someone who would have gone to war for them, and they surrendered them without a fight. You weren't the one who lost here. They were. And now, every silence, every sleepless night, every ghost of laughter that echoes in their empty space reminds them that your absence isn't just distance, it's judgment. The universe took back what they weren't ready to receive. You were never just part of their story. You were the reason it made sense. And now without you, the story reads like a tragedy that never finds its ending. The story they've been trying to tell about your departure is collapsing. The narrative they crafted, the one that painted them as the calm victim and you as the unpredictable storm, doesn't hold water anymore. People are starting to notice the cracks. They're comparing stories, connecting dots that were never supposed to align. The timeline doesn't add up. The tone doesn't match the truth. Their version of events can't withstand reality. Your absence has become a mirror, and what it's reflecting back to the world is their true nature: selfish, manipulative, conditional. The mask is slipping, and the image they tried so hard to protect is unraveling thread by thread. Meanwhile, everything you once shared has turned into a monument to what they destroyed, that restaurant you both loved. They can't even drive past it without their chests tightening. That show you watched together? The unfinished season sits in their continue watching list like an accusation. That song that used to make them smile. Now it just hurts. The inside jokes that once rolled off their tongue now die halfway through because no one else gets it. And deep down, they know no one else ever will. You didn't just leave a void. You left a U-shaped absence. A space too precise, too personal, too sacred to be filled by anyone else. Everything they touch reminds them of what they lost. Every attempt to move on only sharpens the edges of your memory. And so, the replacement phase begins. They start collecting new people, like a desperate shopper trying on clothes that never fit. Every new face is compared to you and found wanting. This one laughs too loud. That one doesn't get their humor. This one talks too much. That one doesn't understand their references. Every interaction feels artificial, every connection forced, because what they really want isn't new. They want you, and they can't admit it. They're discovering the brutal truth. You weren't just another person in their orbit. You were the standard, the measure of depth, grace, and connection. You set the bar so high that everyone else feels like an echo. You made authenticity look effortless, and now they're choking on pretense. They're drowning in shallow conversations with people who can't even graze the surface of what they once had with you. You made them feel seen, understood, challenged, and alive. These new people, they make them feel temporary, and it's killing them. This realization that what they dismissed as too much was exactly what made you irreplaceable. They used to call your intensity overwhelming. Now they crave it like oxygen. They used to mock your depth. Now they suffocate in the shallows. Dating? It's a disaster. Every potential partner is unknowingly competing with your ghost. You've become the unspoken benchmark no one can surpass. My ex used to slips out of their mouth more often than they realize, poisoning every new connection they try to build. The people they date sense it too, that invisible presence looming between conversations, the quiet comparison they'll never win. Slowly, the pattern reveals itself. They're still living in your shadow, trapped in the echo of something they'll never recreate. They can't move forward because they're still looking backward, still replaying your final words, still dissecting your last look, still trying to pinpoint the exact moment you stopped reaching back. They scroll through old messages, searching for clues they ignored. They read your silence like a scripture, trying to find meaning in what isn't there. But you've already moved on, transcended, healed. You've closed the book while they're still rereading the same chapter, hoping the ending will change. And here's the cruelest irony: karma in its purest form. They spent so much time taking you for granted, assuming you'd always be there, and now they're the ones being taken for granted. The cycle is flipped. They've become what they once made you feel: unappreciated, unseen, unloved. They're stuck in a series of half-hearted connections that mirror exactly what they gave you: emptiness. They're repeating the same mistakes, except this time, no one's there to cushion the fall. You taught them what loss feels like, but they never learned the lesson that comes after it: how to turn loss into growth. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm, to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten Wisdom.